let's begin the session. So the session today we're talking about here is the future of talent management. I just have a couple of thoughts to share before we get our very esteemed speakers today. In the 1958s, the average lifespan of a company on S&P 500 was about 61 years. And now it's about one company is dropping off the S&P 500 every 2 weeks. There's also research which says that 75% of the S&P companies that exist in 2011 will possibly be replaced by the new firms by 2025. And as Peter Drucker said, the best way to predict the future is to actually create it. The pandemic has left even the most prepared and agile organizations scrambling in numerous and previously unimaginable ways. And the order of the day, the effort, and the focus has changed to newer domains like truncating redundant processes, mushrooming artificial intelligence, virtual reality, and even mental wellness for that matter. So the change in concerns from employee engagement to cybersecurity, virtual recruitment, and even actually renegotiating compensation and benefit. We have to understand that work has moved from conference rooms to cafes, and talent is also probably moving from tier 1 cities to tier 2 cities. And please don't hate me for the analogy when I say this. Somebody told me this some time back, that talent today is anyone who can do it in half the time, in half the cost, half your age, and maybe half your pay grade as well. So to understand the nuance of what the future is going to look like, especially from a talent management perspective, we have three eminent speakers who top their craft and experience. And please help me welcome our esteemed guest. Can I have the technical team help us with the slides here, please? Meanwhile that they do that, since the session is about for 40 minutes now, I'm going to invite all of you, if you have any questions for our speakers, please feel free to send us through the Q&A and we'll be happy to take them. Our speakers will be very happy and delighted. If you want pointed answers from any one speaker, you may write their name and we'll be very happy to support you there as well. So to begin with, it's an absolute pleasure to hear Leena Sahejwani. She's a Vice President, Group Human Resource at Tata Sons. She has studied at prestigious institutes like the SRCC and Symbiosis. As Vice President of the Group Human Resource at the Tata Capital, she's responsible for some of the biggies like the group performance, reward, diversity, and also digital transformation. Leena has over 2 decades of experience, having previously worked with Sun Pharmaceuticals, GE, Accenture, Aon Hewitt, GSK in various HR leadership roles. Thank you, Leena, so much for being with us today here. Let me move on to our very distinguished other speaker, which is Swati Sarangi. She's the Global Head Learning and Leadership and Organization Development at Reddy's Laboratories. Swati is an accomplished HR leader with PhD in the areas of talent management and organization development. She also has with her a long span of 2 decades of rich experience encompassing teaching, research, training, consulting, and leading people development practices in various organizations. Last but not the least, we have Srinivas PM. He is the head HR India subcontinent and senior director with P&G. Srinivas is an electronic engineer who completed his master's in business administration from Symbiosis. In his career spanning over 2 decades at P&G, he has traversed the journey of learning from being a management trainee to HR business partner, supply chain, comp and benefit partner in geographies spanning Australia, New Zealand, and HR strategies even in Jakarta. He now heads HR for India subcontinent for P&G, and we're also delighted to have him also as the moderator for the session. So Srinivas, all over to you.
Thank you. Good afternoon to everybody. Thank you very much, Kanika, for introducing all the panelists. Thank you to the ISTD chapter. Wanted to thank Mr. Ranjan, Mukeshji, and GP Raoji for giving us this opportunity to do dialogue on this important subject of talent management. I have the pleasure of hosting my senior from the Institute, Leena, and Swati, and having a dialogue on this topic. I would like to start first with a quote that Procter & Gamble, president and later a chairman of the board, Mr. Richard, who had made the statement. His statement was, if you take away my money, my buildings, and my brands and leave my people, I can rebuild the entire organization in a decade. This statement was made by him in 1947. What an apt statement, and how much is it still relevant that we are still looking at people and talent management as the talent management systems and ecosystems evolve. With the changing workforce, demographics, and increasing type of employability, corporations have started thinking about what are the different ways to do talent management. They're looking at fostering an entrepreneur mindset and reimagining talent development to make it a more diverse and inclusive workforce. To tackle the ever evolving work and leadership, organizations are looking at fundamentally changing from a concept of attract, develop, and retain to believing, becoming, and belonging. Believing in the promise and the purpose of the organizations and their own personal beliefs, becoming the part of the organization learning and growth journey, and belonging to the culture of this organization. That Dave Ulrich said, it's all about believing now, becoming, and belonging. With that, I would like to open the panel discussion, and let me start with the first question that I'll pose. First, let's start by understanding what is the change in the landscape. Is it more to do with the T-shaped skill sets, where are the capabilities, the evolving gig economy, or the change in the way we evaluate perform? So first, I would like to invite Leena to express your thoughts on this landscape change that is happening.
Thank you, Srini. And this is a very broad question you have asked. And the answer to it is very much yes. T-shape, absolutely yes. You look at gig, absolutely yes. Changing capabilities, absolutely yes. Change in performance management thought process, absolutely yes. So it's a very broad question, and I'll try to put across a few points here for the audience. First and foremost is the fact that with the changes that are happening around us, how we looked at talent and how we measured potential and talent may have really undergone huge change. So the old age competency model that most of us are very familiar with, today on the very much with each incident that happens around us and how industry is evolving, there are changes that are happening in the skills and the competencies that you need for people to succeed. Therefore, if you're looking at a long-term 5-year, 6-year plan, I'll design a competency framework and I'll go and cascade it to my team. Before you do that, even whether it is technical or leadership, the skills that are required in the organization would have gone through a massive change. So therefore, the traditional view of talent management definitely needs a rethink. The way that, potential and performance was measured in a 9-box, I think those days are gone. They don't exist anymore because the 9-box keeps changing. They are not known 9 boxes. There are many, many boxes because even the skills that are required are changing very rapidly. Therefore, a very different thinking is required to enable talent in the organization. Also, the way succession planning used to happen, where you would have one, a box to fill, which was a box that remained similar through decades, would have, also taken a very different meaning today because the boxes are changing as well. So, two, three key points to summarize. One, the traditional models have to be revived and they have to be made more agile, which means that the way you are evaluating and looking at talent is going to be very different. Succession planning in the traditional sense of talent management will also change because the jobs are also evolving. And, therefore you need T-shaped skills because you need expertise and you need breadth as well for people to be able to manage these complexities that are, making a person adaptive today's needs. So that's pretty much what I wanted to share.
Thank you, Lena. Reminds me of the 9 boxes that you're talking about, and we'll take a later question on how technology can help us do that if we have to do that anyway.
Sure.
So thank you very much. So can I now ask Swati to share your comments, please?
Yeah, so I was just hearing you and Lena speak and thinking about it. The very fundamental question that we need to ask is today, what is it that organizations need to have as differentiators? And market leaders, if they have to emerge in the long and of course the short run, very important here and now. 2 things stand out for me. One is organizations need to be more purpose driven. Second, they need to be more agile. So when we are looking at these 2 things being accomplished, what is it and what kind of talent do we need? We need talent who have that mettle where, they are raring to go. The ambition is very high. The passion is very high. So therefore, I see that the behavioral skills are very, very important and key. They're going to be a lot of trust in that areas. Talking about the functional skills, where you said about the T, I do agree with that. You need to have deep domain in one area with a broader exposure being provided in others. This will definitely help multi-skilling, and fungibility of talent will become easy, where we are trying to work those talent equations, which will help optimize cost, speed, and time, and all of these imperatives. So I want to just share what we are doing here in Dr. Reddy's, and I think that's really helping and going to work for many other organizations as well. When we are looking at the skill landscape in the hard skills, trying to have a bolt-on of a 3D approach. When I say the 3D, it includes data, digital, and design. So whatever your core competency and your skills are, if you can add these 3 elements, you will get your people to work in faster, smarter, better ways. But coming back to the first question that I was trying to raise about how do you make people purpose-driven and ignite that passion, I think that is really, really key. So, I would say if we want talent to triumph, there has to be trust on talent. So can we really, accomplish that by laying trust on talent, by walking the talk, trying to, amplify things which dial up their inner core, making them more curious. Learning agility has to be really high. So if we want the entire organization to be agile, we want a bunch of people who are able to unlearn, try to take different things, do different things, growth mindset. All these things are so very key. So just to summarize, I feel that the composition also is changing in terms of what is the talent mix today. So now we need core people there, but for the non-core and niche, we also need a mix of gig people who will come and go. But there also alignment with the purpose and value system will remain key. So that fundamentally, I'm coming back again to these 2 things: purpose, values, agility, all making organizations, succeed and excel through talent focus.
Thank you, Swati. I think that's a very important facet of having the purpose. Hence, people believe in the purpose and also become a part of the organization, and they can link their own personal beliefs to the organization beliefs. So thank you for sharing your perspective. Let me add on my kind of point of view, right? So I think we need to be clear at the beginning of taking this journey that what is the overall vision of the organization, what are the business goals that you want to achieve, and ensuring that you have the line of sight about how to go about it. In that, keeping that gamut, I think we can look at 3 things, and I think Lena and both Swati mentioned about skills. For me, in an FMCG domain, it's all about how do we really diagnose the existing capabilities that are in the organization today. And with the changing landscape happening, how are we going to really serve our consumers, right? Are we going to be more faster? Like Kanika said in the beginning that, if you can be more cost effective, can do much more faster everything. How can you be more supply chain resilient? How can you reach the consumer in a much more cost-effective manner and influence the consumer to buy the product, right? So it is very important that we are able to understand that disruption that is happening externally and ensure we have an ecosystem to build the skill sets internally in a Procter & Gamble company. We are built from within, so we'll have to create that ecosystem to continuously build. Like advancements in artificial intelligence, Internet of Things, blockchains, these are all rapidly coming up, and organizations are embracing these advancements. However, employees play a critical role, right, in leading these organizations through the dynamic transformation. We need to look at unlocking the full potential of these advancements. It is critical for employees to understand how these advancements work and can solve the business issues and make their life simpler. So at Procter and Gamble, we're trying to create that ecosystem that fosters and provides a platform to employees to upskill continuously and build digital IQ. Right? We introduced our program called Ignite, which is comprising of digital tools, enabling our organization to adapt to the latest technologies, in enhancing skill sets, and doing more meaningful work. Right? So we have also launched an online platform so that the employees could continue to really look at learning and updating their skill sets at the latest development. So that's the second part of how technology advancements as an ecosystem that is getting created. The third, as I think both of you mentioned, the T-shape, absolutely leading to a multifunctional leadership, right?
Yes.
So I think soon we will see that the functionality of having a function will be fluid. You walk into an organization with your skill sets, you have an objective to meet, and you're part of a fluid organization team. And this will be basically driving to your entrepreneur and growth mindset skill sets with having expertise in one domain, and I think horizontally having expertise in understanding in multiple facets. And this will be one of the elements that we can look at to see how we can drive a T-shaped people leading to multifunctional leadership. So that's, I think, a good landscape that we have understood. So let's move on and dig deeper into some specific questions. Speaking of attraction, so talent virtually, what will it take to assess fit, ensure we are highly competent, diverse, resilient talent, and importantly, to know if it is indeed a two-way street? So I would just invite first Swati to share your perspective on attracting talent, whether virtually or face to face. But is it indeed becoming a two-way street? Swati, your thoughts, please.
Yeah. So Srini, interesting question there, and I see two parts to it. So the first part is, how do we attract talent really or virtually? I mean, physically or whatever, virtually. But the whole essence of attracting talent is trying to get the ones that you need. So how do you get them? So building that employee value proposition, which is really real. So both things are important: the messaging and the medium. How do you message and articulate that employee value proposition, which makes your organization really a desirable place to work? And you have to keep in mind different segments and the talent pool that you're trying to attract. And thanks to the current times, today the talent pool I clearly see that becoming bigger, and also very diverse. So bigger in the sense is because, you are going to attract global talents. That entire concept has changed. You're also going to have a lot of new people entering the talent pool. Like, for example, women who are, out of work and could now take up jobs at, working from home modes, or a lot of other people options, even the old age, I mean, in terms of a slightly senior lot coming in and doing small parts, small assignments. So that kind of, so how do you create a desirable, compelling employee value proposition, which really and truly is the identity of your organization? That's one. And the mediums that you choose to use. And thanks to technology today, social media, there are so many ways in which you can make these virtual connects. Just to give you an example, for example, when you're trying to attract the entry-level talent, how do you go and have these engagements with the leading schools and try to nurture talent at that level also, so that they come into your fray? So virtual onboarding processes, when you're having internships, how do you make it very exciting so that they see value and promise in working in your organization? It's more about understanding the career anchors at every stage of an employee life cycle. When you're attracting lateral talent also, can they really see leadership and growth opportunities, which they want to come and, as you rightly say, be a part of your growth story, that kind of a thing. So discerning and deciding what will work for which employee talent is important in terms of segments. But fundamentally, what stands out is how do you make it very personalized? How do you make it very customized? So the journey thinking approach would clearly help. See, there are so many touch points that we have with potential candidates when we are trying to hire them. So every touch point is an important touch point. How do you make that experience very exciting, very engaging, so that they come in and be a part of your journey? Now, the second part that you said about what kind of assessment tools that we can use, and do we see that changing, and what will help? Again, I want to raise a very fundamental question. The idea and the reason why we use assessments is we want to ensure that you get the best people in and the right people in. And when you're trying to do that, the validity and the reliability of your tools really matter. In the current times when things are happening virtually, a little more attention has to be paid to the choice of techniques that you would like to use, maybe a multiple check-in, and to ensure better compatibility. And to be fair, for transparency for both sides, both for the candidate to be able to make the choice and also for the organization. So simulation, gamified tools, these are all in. But when you're designing it, how can you design it in a way which is truly resembling the real and helping you make the right choices? I think these are very, very key. And after having done all of this, I would also like to highlight one bit of it. Talent assessment cannot be looked at in silo. It is linked to various other talent processes. So, the more systemic approach that we take to any aspect of talent will ensure its success. So the horizontal fitment thereof, I think that's also very key when you're trying to do, because every time you take a feedback, from a talent. So when we talked about a two-way street, how do we make it a two-way street? So allow for a feedback to come so that there is a feed forward, make your calibration better. So all these small things also will go a long way in making improvisations along the journey. So treat it like a journey, look at it like a systemic process, and try to make it an enriching experience.
Thank you, Swati. I think you are the best person positioned to look at all the assessment parts with all the rich experience you have, and I think making it a more holistic journey will be able to attract or get the talent to believe in the organization. Thank you. Can I now have Leena to share her comments?
Sure. So we had, in fact, launched the first ever Tata Global Internship Program just before the lockdown started. And we were to receive people in India from all across the globe in the month, starting from the month of March, April, which never happened. So we had to adapt very quickly to completely make this a digital experience for people. So, there were a lot of activities that were planned to ensure that, the experience we wanted to give to talent that we had promised, to get to India. We tried to do most of it online, and we had various sessions that were done, cultural immersions also done online to give that exposure through the digital medium. Now the second batch is being recruited, and of course we realized that there are huge positives when you go digital in terms of your hiring. So we've tried to incorporate all the methods and tools within the platform that we built for interaction with the students. So that's one big I would say learning that we had through this pandemic, because we were never prepared. We were prepared for the traditional onboarding program for the interns that we had recruited. Then we had to switch to a digital mode completely. So that is one way in which we managed through this situation. And it's important, what you can't do physically in a digital world, to do it even more thoughtfully, because the experience of interacting with each other very difficult to replicate when you are not having physical meetings as well. On a long-term basis, I think talent attraction will become easier. You are able to target right set of people if you know what you're looking for. At the same time, just leaving it completely to technology is something may not work, because sometimes, and we've seen many case studies around this, leaving completely to AI based tools has creeping bias in the system as well. So ensuring that you are you're able to have connects, even though relying on technology is going to be important as well. uh, I'll give you another example from within the group, where we did leverage technology very well ahead. So TCS, they hire a lot of people from campuses, and even before people join, we enable sort of technology, technical skills orientation for them. So they are sitting at home, they have time on hand, and they can start taking some of these courses even before they officially onboard, and they get certified ahead of the onboarding itself. So some of these things have been enabled by technology. I think it's important, like Swati mentioned, to know what you're looking for, and ensure that you are using various methods for assessment, as well as leveraging technology to give experience, which is onboarding experience as well. The last point I'll make is, we perhaps will have more virtual workforce going forward. Many of our companies are looking to have 25% of their talent, on a regular basis work remotely. That does open a very different talent pool for us, right? So I'll give you an example. Let's say Tata Sky, they have a call center, and it was felt that the call center needs to be centralized, everybody needs to be together. But then the current situation hit us, and then people were taking calls from home. Now imagine if a subscriber from Punjab is calling, what if somebody from Punjab, part-time worker with us, takes that call? So I think these are aspects which have really opened from a talent standpoint. So assessment becomes even more critical when you have not met the individual physically. It's all happening through remotely, and using the right tools along with personal touch, and ensuring that there are people evaluating in addition to using some methods, is going to be very key. So a mix of both is, I think, what will help the organizations move forward.
Thank you, Leena, for sharing the perspective, and wish you have this program coming soon, physically, after all the hard work that has been put in to have the international internship program. So great. So let me just provide a couple of thoughts from my side on this attracting the talent. So I think, first of all, from the attract, develop, and retain, I think I like the way Devuldich mentioned it as believing, becoming, and belonging, right? So, and I think Swati also mentioned earlier about the purpose, right? So, believing in the purpose. What does the company stand for? What are the promises they are making? Like in PNG, we stand for touching and improving consumers' life, employees' life, and serve the community wherever we can contribute meaningful. I think it's becoming very critical for the talent to see what are the promises the company is making, and ensuring that they are joining organizations which can enable them to be given those opportunities for them also to contribute. It creates a lot of sense of pride in employees if they really believe and connect their personal purpose to the company's purpose. The second part about attracting, like again, it's a full journey that they're looking at. It's all about becoming the part of the organization. The personal goals are becoming very unique, and the expectation of the growth is becoming rapid from an individual employee point of view. Hence, the talent looks at a potential of growth of the organization, and hence directly linked to their own growth, empowerment, and more accountability in their hands. So, and again, at Procter and Gamble, we try to look at providing the environment which is more empowering, more agile, more accountable. And at the same time, we also want to provide an environment where both men and women can co-create and fulfill their career aspiration, ensuring that we have a very diverse and inclusive leadership pipeline to have. The third part after the believing, becoming is the third is the belonging to the culture. As this disruption has happened, which is the pandemic, and like Lena, you mentioned, the focus now has become not only livelihood but also lives. If you look at this, it is all starts with first the safety. Are you all okay? And then you talk about livelihood. So there's a big right balance that we need to create to ensure we are having the belongingness of the individuals by empathetically taking care of them as employees and ensuring that they are the right fit into the culture. And at Procter and Gamble, we do have from day one a very strong enrollment program, like what my esteemed panelists shared. Virtual onboarding is a little bit challenging for us, but we had no other option. But we had to do it as a build from within company. We had to enroll them from the day one and across different stages of their journey to be belonging to the culture, which has been existing for more than 180 years as the largest FMCG company in the world. So thank you for those comments, very insightful, both Lena and Swati. Let's now pivot a bit here. With the rapidly growing gig economy and almost a perennial war for good talent, what is the new mantra for engaging our talent? If I can have Lena first to share your perspective, which means like the entire gamut of employee engagement, sustained performance, ensuring we are leaning to nurture a diverse talent pipeline. Is there a tested, tried formula? Lena?
So we did a very detailed assessment of what gig could mean for us in for our group, and what do gig workers look for, right? So very interestingly, we found that most of them do want to work for short bursts of assignments, and at the same time they are worried about uh, certain benefits that typically an employee is usually eligible for. So they are looking for safety, security for themselves, as well as of course right advisory fee for the time that they engage with. So that was very key learning that we had from the study that we had done. Now if you look at the roles that we have, and in fact I challenge my own team on this, we are always thinking very traditionally that this is a role which needs a full-time resource, and you don't break the role into multiple projects, right? But if you were to think about everything as a project, it is possible that you could perhaps look at people coming in for short bursts and coming in and just doing that job through expertise and not have a permanent resource fully. So I think this is going to be the future, because more and more, if you see, more expertise is required in designing solutions in most organizations. They need niche skills, and you can't hire niche skills every time you have a requirement. So it's easier to get somebody as a person coming in from outside with expertise, with a very strong briefing. So I think gig is here to, it will grow. And especially now, where people have learned that you don't need people around you all the time for them to deliver, and virtually people can work as well. Everybody is very familiar with Zoom, MS Teams, everything, and they are absolutely okay, to meet people this way. I think it will only grow. So I think future is gig for sure. It will take a bit of time, and it will take a bit of time not because gig workers are not ready for it. It is because our mindsets need to be challenged around it. So if we can work with our managers, help them understand which jobs can be done gig way, you would end up enriching the skills that you're bringing in with more expertise, and also creating programs which will be faster perhaps, as well as more agile for you. So I think that's really my point of view on this I think a very futuristic trend. And I would say that it's going to rise, especially after this pandemic.
I heard you saying about the line managers or the managers changing their mindset. Can you, you know, throw a little bit more light on what especially would you do in these scenarios, please?
Yeah, so I think, when you write the JDs, for example, and you need a thought process around, JD is nothing but a thought process of what the individual will do, right? You see, if there are things that are continuous, which need continuous monitoring, then and you understand that you need person, whose full-time role who can monitor this. But if, let's say, I'm doing something around wellness, now why do I need to hire somebody to create a wellness program? Or, if I have wellness, EAP, 2 or 3 such programs, do I hire a person to just look after that? Or can I just work with a framework, somebody coming in and creating a framework, and then, keeping minimal time frame for, or minimal resources for execution, the ongoing execution, that's how you are going to educate people. I think traditionally we are tuned to think that we need a resource. A resource is gone, we need a resource. But if we are able to break and keep very sharp focus around outcomes, it will be highly efficient for the organization. And also it is elastic, right? I mean, sometimes you have more work and you have less work in the organization. When you create a full-time resource, you don't have that elasticity. You can't ramp up very fast, you can't ramp down also without hurting individuals in the process. So I think both scenarios, if you keep in mind, there are roles that need full-time resources, keep that aside. But I think a good 20-25% of an organization's work can be done through gig resources.
Got it, Lina. So make it a more agile structure,
Yeah.
core work, and then as
Correct.
and work the work as and when the work comes in, hire the resource from the market,
Correct.
which then can get the work done. Thank you so much. Swati, your point of view on engaging the talent, the new mantra.
Yes. So engagement, I think, is a confluence of satisfaction and contribution. How do you get talent to feel more satisfied about the work and the organization that they are engaged in? And how do you get them to amplify their contribution? I think these are two very fundamental issues that we are trying to address. Now, when we're talking about engagement, I'd like to divide it into 2 parts. One is the engagement with the work, and second is engagement with the organization. Most often than not, organizations and people, we generally tend to fuse the two. Let's keep it separate and then look at both of them as being important. How do you get the people to be engaged with the jobs that they're doing? Whether it's gig or core. I mean, people who are working with you. So you have to get them to feel excited. And therefore, the way the tasks are bundled, the novelty, the challenge element, all of these are very important. So we at Dr. Reddy's, for instance, we are working on a very focused and a very robust capability building approach, where we are trying to say what are the ideal profiles that you need for people to succeed in each role. We're enlisting skills and competencies required, and then saying what kind of people we need to do these. We're identifying it and doing a very systematic approach that way. So that is about the work engagement. Second part is how do you get them to be engaged with the organization? And to my mind, that part is more important than the former. This organizational engagement is so key. And Trini, sometime back you talked about Procter & Gamble. For us at Dr. Reddy's, we say good health can't wait. And it's that purpose which is so very compelling that you want everybody raring to go to the last mile. Two values which stand out for all of us here are, empathy and dynamism. So empathy, you want to be very empathetic, and you're authentic in all the ways that you're doing, and caring, sharing, all of that. So all your patient-centric innovation and everything that you do beyond even providing a pill that goes on to taking care of good health is so key there. And dynamism is the speed with which you're doing it, the rigor with which you're doing it, which is very akin to what we do in the FMCG also, but with regulations and compliance issues being intact also. At pharma, that's more critical. So when we are talking about how do you get people to be engaged with the organizations, I think we need to take a very systemic, very kind of a very detail-oriented approach. So the way we are doing it here, and I would say it has worked well in my experience, I've seen working well elsewhere, is that number one, you focus on role modeling behaviors. Call out those behaviors which are critical in the organization. And if you really want your talent to be engaged, the leaders need to walk the talk. They need to have them role model, see the people, people need to see leaders role modeling that. Second is the communication and the connect part of it. Can you build conviction? Making the connect with every person in the way that matters. And here, the personal aspiration with the organizational aspiration. How do you get them to align? How do you establish that congruence? Then, of course, the third is the enabling structures and systems. See, most often than not, we would have a structure which is, very sort of layered, and then it's not network. And today, the world is changing. You're working in an environment which is so much more fluid. So you need to have structures which are also enabling, more network-like. The decisions can be faster. If we want to have processes, if we want an organization to be agile, we need processes also which are enabling in that sense. So all your business processes have to, resonate and, move in that direction. And last but not the least, the skills and capabilities that people need to be able to be engaged. See, today, people want to amplify and dial up their skills. So in talent, I like the word that if you see TALENT, there is a word latent in talent. Can we really surface what is latent? If we help, surface the latent part in every individual, we're actually trying to help the individual become, which we were trying to speak about. We're trying to help the person become a better version of herself. So if you're able to do that, I think that is going to give talent a reason to stay and get nurtured. So employee engagement is an art and a science. We will have to, the organizations will have to put in more, effort and I would say heart in trying to come out with a range of policies, processes, culture, communication to be able to bring this and orchestrate it for the individuals. And think of both the job and the organizations when you're trying to look at talent engagement.
Swati, you mentioned something very interesting about leadership role modeling, right?
Yeah.
So, because you have to walk the way. So what do you think we need to do differently? Because we've been manufacturing a certain set of leaders till now, right?
Yeah.
Now that pipeline and that manufacturing unit, does it need to change? How do you really look at and what are your thoughts on that?
So I'll tell you, in the current times, what has surfaced, the way we see it, the leadership competencies, some of it, the makeup of leadership competencies that we need has changed, and some of it is still what it was and is remaining relevant today. I would say that today we need resilient leaders. See, we're talking about resilient talent. We also need resilient leaders. We need leaders who have that tenacity and grit, okay, to face adversity and beyond. So what does it need? I mean, what do we need leaders to really demonstrate? We want them to be very collaborative, because that's very important today. In today's world, you can't have people working in a siloed way. Second, I think that entrepreneurial mindset, that is very key. We want them to take risks. We want them to think bold. That is so very important. Third is we also need leaders who have that vulnerable side, the empathy quotient, humility quotient, the people part of it, which was earlier also important, but today they need to demonstrate that in the virtual scenarios. They need to show that. So which is why the leaders also need to be coachable. That is, today we need leaders who can take that feedback, from what is being told bottom up also, and what's happening around them. So that is also role modeling behavior. I would say we also need leaders who aspire for excellence in everything that they do. And excellence is a big word in Dr. Reddy's credo. We have an aspire framework. So I won't go through everything, but A stands for aspirational growth mindset, speed and rigor, Then P is for people leadership, I is for innovation, R for results, and E is for excellence. Each tenet has a meaning by itself and so relevant in today's times. So if we are talking about role modeling of leadership behavior, which you asked, Srini, I think it's about walking the talk. So actions speak louder than words. It's not about leader coming and saying something. People are watching us. What are we doing? Working virtually is difficult. Leading virtually is far more difficult. And in most organizations, we also have these hybrid setups where you have some of them working in sites and plants, and the others who are, back home also working and stretching themselves. So if you want all that passion and purpose to happen, you need leaders who are really there. And if there is any time for leadership, I think it's now. You have to be there, be vulnerable, make those connections which are personal, be humble, be agile. So it's being authentic on one side and agile on another. That's the kind of leader that we're looking at.
Empathetic, agile, and an accountable leader. Thank you so much, Swati.
Srini, I just want to add one point to
Sure.
what Swati said. She spoke about having engagement with work and with organization. I think those are very, very key to engaging. The third aspect which I would want to talk about is, how traditionally we may have seen engagement is organization's responsibility. But where I've seen this work very well is when it is a co-created responsibility between the employees and the organization itself. So, there needs to be an onus with the employee as well to engage themselves.
Yep.
Work is, of course, all of us know this, that a role which is given to you on paper and what you make of it is pretty much yourself. So, a lot of systemic solutions can be there, but at the same time, we need to make our talent learn that engagement in the organization and with their work is also very much their responsibility, while the organization enables it for them. Even in engaging people, I think it really helps when you seek inputs from people around changes that you're going to make, right? So if they are sitting with you and they are driving those changes, I think there is a whole new meaning of engagement that emerges. And in my experience, when we involve people in driving these changes, it becomes much more impactful.
Absolutely, Lina. I think you're already reading my mind. So I think just to add on the employee value proposition, I think the co-creation of the engagement is very, very important, because you are trying to take a feedback and the opinion of a bottoms-up approach, whereas also centrally you design some of the programs which can be engaging the organization. I think this is a continuously ongoing process that we follow, and we want to constructively innovate to engage the organization. And I think it's also essential that every individual has a priority and a way to be engaged. So therefore, the line manager role to co-create, whether like what Swati mentioned, the work part or also the organization and the engagement part, right? So both can be co-created in the way that is the best win-win situation for both individual employees. For example, employee well-being at Procter & Gamble is all about healthy body, happy mind and meaningful heart, right? So that's our vibrant living element, which again we have a pillar team which is led by the group of individuals who are very passionate about employee well-being, and they co-create the programs within themselves and bring it up to life to engage the rest of the organization, like the marathon races, and also giving back to the community through their charity work that they do. And also the lot of innovative things that we do on online culture, gamification, well-being, competitions that we run. So overall, I think to sum up, I think the employee value propositions and how we really co-create between the individual and the organization, individual and the manager, and individual also driving some of the initiatives themselves, where they feel very very proud that they have led the initiative in their area of interest. So with that, I would pause here We had a very good, enriching discussion. To have Kanika ask us, put some questions across that has come through.
Thank you. Thank you, Srini. And it looks like we really did keep the best for the last, because I think we've been able to summarize the whole of 2 days meaningfully because of what talent can do for us here. We've got some questions, based on the stimulus that the speakers and the panelists provided here. So the first question, Lina, if it's okay, it's for you. It's by Arvind Kumar. The question he has is that we all know the World Economic Forum every year at Davos keeps giving us these new set of competencies which are critical and important. But from your point of view as a leader, what do you think are some of the very key skills that you would probably give input to, like a new recruit or a new intern, saying this is what you should invest in? What would those really be?
So, Swati spoke about a few, and I think my list is going to be somewhat similar. At Tata Group, we have future ready, future engaged. This is what we use. Future ready is skills that cut across, very similar to what Swati said. They cut across any function, right? So you need to be knowing a bit about data science if you are in any leadership position within the Tata Group. So, that's future ready. Future engaged is more behavioral. And there, we are looking for empathy, collaboration. And collaboration has again become very key in all organizations today because, I think again, talent management practices a decade earlier used to be about an individual. But today, the work that we are doing in any organization is needing a lot of cross-functional teams and cross-functional collaboration. So collaboration is something you'll find, in any organization that you're looking at. I talked about agility. I talked about collaboration. There is empathy, which is important as well. And then there is purpose. Purpose is very key, as most, again, Swati spoke about, and Srini, you as well talked about, through believing. Without purpose, I think, people get lost and, it's meaningless work that they do over a period of time. Therefore, purpose becomes very important as well. So these are the ones that I would say. And of course, resilience, I can't miss that in today's context, very important. And, I would say if you have adaptiveness throughout your career, you will be able to sail through. And you need perseverance or resilience to do that.
All right. So looks like the title of our conference has been Resilient Talent Management. And I think you've been beautifully been able to summarize the whole thing. So thank you for that. The next question I have is for you, Srinivas. The question really is that we've spoken about in the last 45 minutes about how the face of talent is changing, how gig economy is coming in. So at P&G, how would you really describe what diversity in another 10 years is going to look like? So what are some of the upcoming facets that you're actually focusing upon? So lovely to hear from you.
Thank you, Kanika, for the question. I think diversity is a critical strategy for the organization, right? So depending on how the business goals are set and the landscape changes, we need to be very clear that this is a critical strategy which we will have in our workforce to be winning against the competition. Currently we are a company which is having which produces all the consumer goods products, and for us the most important objective is to ensure we are able to win with the consumer, right? As we look at the future, I would see more emphasis on diversity of thought coming into play more, and also the diversity of backgrounds. Currently, we do have a clear priority on having a gendered and inclusive organization. But as we move forward, I foresee this changing to more of thought leadership and also a background diversity coming up very, very strongly to ensure we are able to understand the consumers better and serve them.
So wonderfully said. So you're saying it's a mix of thought diversity, which caters to the thought of your clients and also your customers out there. So thank you for the clarification. The next question I have is for Swati. Swati, this question has come from Yashwant Chauhan. And the question really is that how do you really prioritize between people, individual development versus organizational culture? I'd like to add another point to it is what is the organization mindset in terms of investment for this talent as well?
Okay. So I think it's a good question. Thank you, Yashwant, for asking this. Both are important because, ultimately you're driving an organizational agenda. So it's an organizational culture. So culture and agenda are a little different. So I would look at organizational imperatives as asks, which is more strategic and business in focus. Culture is an enabler, okay, which is being provided as an impetus for the individual to thrive and flourish or contribute. Now, how do we align the organizational agenda with the individual development agenda? I think that is really, really key and very critical because ultimately an individual joins an organization for a better tomorrow for oneself and wants to seek meaning and alignment or fulfillment of aspirations for oneself. So here, it's important that when we are hiring talent and we're getting in talent, we get talent where there is a little match of values. We want to be inclusive, but that compatibility is important. But doing it is very key. Also, I would say it has to be a continuous process. We can't say that, we have done this individual development plan and an organizational development plan once and it's a task over or a job done. No, it has to be iterative. It has to be continuous. When we follow the approaches of design thinking, I really like that when you're doing this kind of an exercise because it starts with empathy for the user, and you're the user being the individual. And a lot of rapid prototyping is also required as you are trying to work out or etch out any development plan. So that would be key. Now, the culture part is a conduit or a connection between the organization and the individual. Communication is one variable that I would like to add. So how does a manager communicate? And there the managers, I think, play a very important role, and we as HR professionals play the role of accelerators. Can we really, sort of set this equation in a very catalytic mode for the individual and the organization to happen? So balancing the two.
Thank you.
I'm coming in. Technology says 4 minutes to go.
Absolutely. So this is also the last question actually that we are doing here. So thank you for the time frame there. The good thing is in the house today, we have a lot of business leaders who would like to understand how decisions are going to drive dollar and how dollar is leading to every decision. So I think it goes both together. And I'd like to take away parting thoughts from all the three panelists on this one as to how do you measure the effectiveness for a lot that we are trying to do at a people front, at an organization front. So one quick thought from each one of you to say, how would you as a leader actually measure the effectiveness around this?
I think the effectiveness of this is delivering the business goals and having the best fit talent.
Okay. So that's the core mantra for Srinivas, I can say. So Leena, over to you. What would that be?
Yeah, it's actually going to be business goals, and you have the right capability to take your organization forward is when you can say that you've hit home. If you're constantly struggling on capability front and not able to meet business goals as a result, that tells you that some things are failing in the organization.
Absolutely. I think it goes in hand in hand with what Srini was saying. Swati, over to you. What would you have to add to this?
Yeah, capability is definitely a lever for the organizational mandate and goals. So it leads to the lag. I mean, that's very important. But I would say, fortunately for us, thanks to digitalization and analytics along the way, we have a lot of metrics and measures which we can creatively and innovatively put in place to ensure that we are on the right track. And we can do a lot of real-time data captures to know if the talent is really adding value. Also giving opportunities for tying talent investments to practice opportunities by way of action learning projects, tying it to business-centric goals will be very key. So performance measures, our eye on performance measures that are of strategic importance has to be there and not really let loose.
Kanika, just add on to one point is though it's not a measure, but underlying culture is very important to have a depth. because as we grow into this agile organizations and the gig economies and everything, I saw some of the questions. We need to be fundamentally having the right culture
Yeah.
is important.
So, I was also looking at the questions, Kanika, coming up. One thing that I'd like to say that when we talk about this entire talent landscape and resilient talent and all of that, mindset, skill set, culture, all the three matter. Which matters more? We will have to understand that for me, culture matters the most. And then it's the mindset and skill set. If the mindset is for learning agility, it's for wanting to be a better version, then you've got the right people. Skill sets will manifest, which I said the latent becomes manifest. So get the right skills, get your people ready, go all the way to get your talent tasks and the organizational mandates.
And since this is the future of talent management, so if you had to give like one anecdotal advice to the future of talent management, like that one core mantra that you live by, that you would like to leave as legacy for the others, what would really that be?
A really quick one because our time is on.
Yes.
Keep an open mind, Kanika. That's what I would say, because talent is coming from all sides. So if you have a very narrow thought on talent, you will not be able to leverage that. Yeah.
My thought is growth mindset.
Growth mindset, keep it open. So Swati, what's your parting thought?
I would say trust and growth, both. Trust
Right.
the talent and grow the talent.
All right. So thank you for the lovely synergy on this. And we'd like to thank all of you on behalf of ISTD for being with us today. As a token of vote of token for all of you, we have a short video we'd like to play. So can the IT team help us doing that?
IT, can you play the video?
I think there are a lot of thoughts coming from others, thanking the panelists for the lovely help for us. All right, so thank you everyone. Thank you for being with us. We can maybe stop sharing this screen. So thank you for being with us. Thank you to Leena, to Srinivas, thank you for moderating the session, and thank you Swati for being with us today. I think we have a lot of chat inputs saying that a lot of people benefited from the session. So thank you for your thoughts on this. We're going to now break into the next, a quick break now. And in the break, we would like you to, we'll have the sponsors also come in. Feel free to have informal chats for everyone. And just in time, in 15 minutes from now, we'll be back for the valedictory session. That's where we are. Some of you have been handpicked to spend a few moments with the speakers and get to hear from their wisdom and their thought process. So you will be directed into a breakout zone. When you do, just accept the same and you will be there with our speakers there today. So on that note, thank you to everyone and thank you for being with us. We know it's late in the evening on a Sunday evening, but thank you for being with all of us today.
Thank you, Kanika. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, Kanika.
Thank you.
You.
Thank you.